Hey guys, in this video we're gonna be talking about the T-84 OPLOT, which is the main addition of the Thailand Sub-3 for Japan. It is a completely new vehicle with a lot of resemblance to the T-80 series. It has some unique upgrades and of course some other downgrades we're gonna be covering in this video. First of all, what it brings is essentially the T-80 reload, which is a 6.5 autoloader, while including a good turret armor and access to a variety of ammunition. Unfortunately, it only brings BDA4 APFSDS as the top tier APFSDS, which essentially is the worst penning APFSDS in top tier. It's something like more similar to the 3BM46 which you would find in T-80U series, but those are 11.7, but still, it's more than enough for aiming at weak spots and killing enemies. It also brings some unique ERA armor that we'll be covering later on. Some of the upgrades over the T-80s are the laser warning system, which is gonna be very useful at long-range sniping maps and for defending yourself against some air-to-ground ordnance such as Hellfires or Vickers, because you're gonna know that they are incoming. And it also brings some really good optics, one of the best I've ever seen in MBTs. They both include Gen 3 thermals, Commander and Gunner, and at the same time both of them have very good panoramic view as well as max zoom. As for the mobility, it's one of the best selling points of the T-84. It comes with some problems we'll be talking in a moment here, but what you get is an amazing minus 32 km reverse, which is exceptionally great for a T-series. You also maintain the 70 km an hour forward, such as the T-80, which is more than the T-72 series, but the issue you are gonna encounter here is that you are more heavy than the T-80s, meaning that the acceleration, especially past 50 kilometers, it's gonna be much worse than the T-80. You're gonna be slower to accelerate and reach those 70 kilometers. You're only gonna notice it really on very open maps where you're gonna need to cruise forward for like maybe 30 seconds, even 1 minute. But still, you get a great mobility that is gonna save you in a lot of scenarios where you need to back off after shooting. Unfortunately, for all of these extras we've covered, you are gonna be having to pay a high price. There's three key aspects that you are gonna need to keep in mind. First off, the gun depression. Not only with the -5 or -6 degrees that the Russian T-series tanks have, the T-84 OPLOT has the worst depression in game, I think, which is -4 degrees. Any small hills is going to screw you over and you're not gonna be able to get your gun on target. What's even worse than the -4 degrees of depression is one of the most crucial weaknesses of the OPLOT, which is the lackluster 4 degrees of vertical aiming speed. You can only cover 4 degrees in the vertical axis, which for any high tier MBT, this is horrendous. Usually 7 degrees, 8 degrees, such as the Type 10s or the Merkavas, were considered really bad because it's slow. But having half of that, only having 4 degrees per second, it's gonna get you killed a lot of times because it really is gonna take you some time for you to get your gun on target, and if the enemy spots you, you're trying to flank them, you're not gonna have the time to lower or raise your gun in time for you to get the first shot off. And probably the worst stat of all in the OPLOT is the armor values of the tank. They are incredibly bad. I've already said that the turret cheeks are quite armored, it's true, and if you manage to hide your hull, even if you are camping with that -4 degrees of depression, you're gonna be quite tanky. Of course, you can still die through a bridge shot or you can get crippled and you're gonna be unable to shoot for 30 seconds, but it's the hull. The upper front plate is lacking a lot of armor values that other T-series has, which in return makes it that unless an enemy is shooting you from an angle where 2 whole ERA blocks are stopping the round, the enemy APFSDS is most likely gonna cut through your hull, doesn't matter where it's aimed at. Unfortunately, as far as I know, this is just a poor design on the T-84 upper front plate IRL, where it lacks some armor values in comparison to the T-80 or T-72 series, but it's just for in-game purposes, it's really bad because that would make the difference between consistently stopping APFSDS and not stopping them, and only stopping them from time to time if you get lucky, if they get like a really weird angle where they shoot at you from. I don't know, really bad. But another thing that really bothers me other than the upper front plate is the side skirt ERA. If you compare it to the T-80 BVM or the T-90M Russian bugs, that the X-ray value says that it only stops 20 millimeters kinetic energy. That is not true. It happened to me, it probably has happened to you as well, where shots like the HSTVL shots or sometimes even MBT APFSDS, you shoot to the side of the tank and it's that sandbag that is gonna completely stop the APFSDS and make no damage at all. But the OPLOT side skirt should have 10 times the armor. Instead of 20mm kinetic energy, it should have 200mm of kinetic protection. I haven't been able to stop, or at the very least, soak any spalling on any shot that I've received from this side ERA. It really feels like there is absolutely no armor and it's just filled with air, which is gonna lower a lot your survivability in comparison to tanks like the T-80 or the T-90. Unfortunately, that's what I think of the OPLOT. I think that for some of the upgrades, that is the mobility mainly, you are paying a very high price. I don't think it's that worth it. The Thailand grind is not that big, it's only 3 vehicles total, so you can probably get it and just play it alongside the Type 10s, but I was really looking forward to this tank and it's ended up being like a bit of a tragic release for me because I was expecting maybe more or hoping for it to have some of the armor or survivability of the T-80 series, at least not T-72s, which those are even more armored and I get it, but when you play the T-80, even if you have that lackluster mobility, especially in the reverse speed, you tend to stop many more shots than you're gonna stop in the OPLOT. And at the end of the day, I think it's a very important value a tank should be considered, the survivability of the tank, and unfortunately OPLOT barely provides any survivability, so it's not gonna be that good of an MBT overall. Get it, it's not that bad either, it's just that I was a bit disappointed in there. Anyways, that would be it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't done it yet, it would help me a lot. See you next time, bye bye.